Hello everyone, and welcome to the Legend of Zelda Dungeons of Infinity. This is a roguelike based off of Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. It's pretty good. I'm gonna try and play a run and try and reach the end. From the get-go, we have a couple of options here, including our starting character. It does allow support for custom sprites as well, which is nice, but we're just going to play as the frog. If you want, you can start off with a starting item. We'll see some of these as the run progresses, but we're just going to get started right away. Now, the goal is immediately obvious. Our character controls largely the same as you would in A Link to the Past, with a few minor exceptions. You don't have your charge attack, you can't just hold your sword in front of you right now. They may add that in the future. And instead of the Pegasus boost to run fast, you have a run button, which makes you walk a little bit quicker. That run button will also light torches and do a couple other things as well. This frog that is here at the start will tell you a couple of the things you can do and just give you a couple of hints to get started. From the get-go, these bushes will always carry a couple of bombs, so we can bomb our way in here. If you use up all of your bombs before entering the castle, you'll just get a funny line of dialogue and then you'll have to restart the game because you won't actually be able to continue. And from there, we are just going to get started. Now, as you may have noticed, we currently don't have the biggest inventory, and things will take up slots very quickly. But as we progress, we'll be able to upgrade that inventory, upgrade our weapons and other such things using the treasures that we find. And we're just going to try and reach the end of the game. Hopefully this will take around 1 or 2 hours. It can take any amount of time really, because it sort of just depends on what kind of items you get, and some items really do speed up the progress a lot. There is secret rooms in this as well, and they certainly follow rules, some of which I know. Sometimes the enemies will also drop treasures. This is a gold kinstone piece, and hopefully we will be able to find the other half of it so we can turn that into something useful. There is the map. The map is only useful for one floor. If we press X, we can see a slightly bigger version of it, and if you have a compass, you can see slightly more information as well. Once we reach the next floor, then the map will disappear from our inventory, which is good because if we press start, the map also takes up a part of your inventory, and there is certainly more useful things to have. One small difference in this is that, for one, the green enemies take 3 hits rather than 2 if they have a big sword. Also, you can destroy pots with other pots, which is lovely. We have a red kinstone piece, similar issue. We'll maybe be able to do something with that. Also, you can take pots through doors. It's just a minor change, but it is quite nice from time to time, especially early on where the pots do deal enough damage to kill an enemy in one hit. Not these green guys with the big sword, but the tiny ones die in one hit, and some other enemies it can be useful. Now, there is a crack in the wall there. Some cracks will be decorative, which is why I'll occasionally walk past the crack and not even mention it, because yeah, they're not all leading to secret rooms. You can see that there is seemingly nothing here on that side of the map if we look over there, which is part of an indicator that there might actually be a secret room there, because those are just not displayed on the map until you've explored them. The chest contains an inventory bag, so that's actually really useful at this early point, because as you can see, we would have had a full inventory otherwise. So getting that really early on is extremely helpful, actually. So I will happily take that and be on my way. We are nearly done with the first floor. If something drops, you can actually just leave it behind, because nothing actually despawns. Just one thing you need to be aware of is that when you leave the floor, you will not be able to go back up again. So try and make sure you've done everything you want to do on a floor before you leave. And we will just be moving on. Right now that we got some mana there, we aren't currently able to use that for anything, but later on there hopefully will be some things we can use with that. And we will move on to the next floor. I should mention, first of all, there is darkness, but you can light these torches to light up the room a little bit. But also the floors are all randomly generated. Every time you do a run, the run will be a little bit different. And This is no exception. You will find the same enemy types on each floor every time, but yeah, the experience can be wildly different every time. There is another thing about secret rooms as well. Sometimes there will be cracks in the wall that you can bomb. Other times you can just walk through a wall instead. And there certainly is ways to figure out what you're meant to do where. There is an item in the game that will tell you when there is a secret room in the room you're in. But we don't have that yet, so maybe that'll show up. But I'll be honest, I don't fully know what the rules are regarding secret rooms. I don't know if the best way to figure out if you can walk through a wall is to just hug every wall in the game and hope. Beyond the fact that there just needs to not be a wall on the map for you. Also, we have the gold kinstone, so we can fuse it with that. From what I understand, the color of the kinstone also sort of indicates how good the treasure will be, with gold being basically the best. So, yeah, we're gonna get some pretty good stuff here. I think that's actually a maxed out inventory, which on the one hand is good. But on the other hand, it's not immediately, like, super necessary to have that much space, and honestly, I wouldn't have minded, like, a weapon upgrade or something like that, because it does mean that, yeah, well, at least we won't have to worry about inventory space this run, so that's actually pretty nice, but hopefully we will find some other stuff along the way. But we'll just see how that goes. Right now, I'm not particularly worried. So we have a key. One thing to keep in mind is that if there is a locked door, then that is generally where you have to go. And killing enemies, lighting torches, just doing the stuff that you would do in a Zelda game is generally how you would go about finding the key. But later on, you might get an item that just gives you infinite keys, and then if you want to run to the end as quickly as possible, then generally you just want to just follow locked doors, follow things that would require switches and stuff like that, and will speed up the process a little bit, plus maybe make it a little bit easier. Just checking out if I can walk through that wall there, because it is kind of suspicious how there's just a big gap over there, but there's a chance that there's just going to be a door there in a second, so not particularly expecting 2 more chests. And yeah, there is just a door there that will hopefully take me to the next floor. Let's get these 2. Large magic refill and a heart container. Heart containers are always good. You want to get as many of those as possible. The magic refill is in my inventory. You don't immediately use it like you would in the Ocarina of Time, in Link to the Past, so that is nice. Now, this is a shop. If we look at the info, it'll give us a little bit of information. Right now we have 0 defense, and since we have a full inventory anyway, we might as well get this. Might as well get this as well. Rods are kind of good. They have limited uses, but you can recharge them from time to time in certain places that will allow you to recharge a rod. Fire rod is especially just a useful thing to have because it will one-shot any enemy. I think for the entire game. There's a couple of exceptions, like certain bosses will be immune to the fire rod, but for the most part, it's pretty good against just regular strong enemies. So that's nice to have. This is Dependence of Wealth, which gives you bonus to all collected rupees. So this is an item that normally I would love to find like halfway through the game. But the earlier you find it, the better, because you want to have as much money as possible. Also, 35 rupees for a shield is probably the lowest I've ever seen. So this run is looking a lot like some of my Binding of Isaac runs, I suppose, where the luck is ridiculous. To the top left, you can now see we have 2 defense. The shield also actually gives us another point of defense, so that's pretty good to have. Now, there is one thing I haven't mentioned, which is curses. Every time you open a chest, there is a chance that rather than an item, you get a curse. And we'll deal with that when we deal with that, but some of the curses are extremely detrimental, so I do want to watch out for that. We got some more arrows, we got another key. But so far, no curses. I will happily take that. There is items that prevent you from being cursed, and the moment I see one of those, I will do everything I can to try and get that. If you want, you can reset a room by just leaving it again. Sometimes doors close behind you, but those swirly ball guys are a problem that I don't want to deal with my terrible weapon. But fortunately, we currently have a rod that one-shots them. And I will happily use that. Because, God, those guys are kind of the bane of my existence, I suppose. They are kind of tricky to deal with, even with strong weapons. They're pretty weak against pots. If you have multiple pots in a room, you can just throw one at them, and they usually just stay far away enough that it's not a problem. This is one of those instances where you're in a room where you actually have to light all the torches before the door opens. And there is also prisoners. You can talk to them, and they usually have several lines of dialogue. Generally just comedic. There's very rarely an instance where they're useful, but there is two. There's two prisoners in the game which are useful. One will always be on this floor, so we're gonna have to look out for that one. And beyond that, there's one other one where if you talk to him a couple times, you get some money, which is actually pretty good. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. You can recharge your rods, but it does cost magic to use. They max out at 16 charges, but it can be pretty useful to just have a charged up fire rod, as you can probably imagine, as some enemies can be tricky to deal with otherwise. Now I like to explore as much as possible. Because then you can find stuff like this. There's a couple items here, and they all may need explaining because it's not immediately obvious what they do. This is a chicken. You can use it to replenish hearts. It'll just take up a spot in your inventory, and if you take damage, then you can use that. Ring of bombs. You can use magic to get bombs in your inventory. That can be useful. I rarely would say that that's probably worth the money. Cans of alien energy. So there's about 1,000 different types of food and beverages in this game. Most of these cans heal up 3 hearts, but they do stack if you find multiple of the same. It's a case with a lot of items. If you find multiple of the same item, generally it will stack on top of each other, and it will only take up 1 inventory space, which if you don't have a maxed out inventory in floor 3, which is every other run I've ever done, it is pretty useful to just have stacked stuff like that, because it can get kind of dicey, especially further on in the game. But given our current situation, I could just go for any health item. Having said that, 4 of these might genuinely be worth more than anything else the store has. The one counter argument I would make is this, the power gloves, because it's an upgrade to our gloves, but it gives us +1 attack as well, and that is kind of nice. The armor just gives us more armor, which is fine, but at this point in the game, I'm not particularly worried about taking that much damage yet, so I'm actually going to go for this, and maybe I'll come back for those 4 cans of energy drink, because it will just be useful. But now we can kill those snakes in 1 hit. We can kill these in 2 instead of 3 hits, which is really nice. The heart dropped perfectly in front of this door here, which is kind of annoying. But it is what it is. And I might want to go back either way, just to check out if there's a secret room nearby there. But yeah, these guys in particular, if you don't use a rod, it can be kind of dicey. If you hit them just after they're done spinning, they tend to move immediately afterwards. And you have to hit him 4 times, and that's with an upgraded sword. I think it's 5 times if you only deal 1 damage, so it's rough out there. You really just want to have a better way of dealing with that. Now, sometimes a door will close behind you, and that often means either you just walk through a one-way door, which does happen, and other times it means that you have to kill all the enemies in the room in order to actually progress onwards to open that door again. That's a lot of stuff dropping from those people, actually, but fair enough, I suppose. I'll happily take that. It's kind of nice to keep an eye on what's happening with doors, especially when you get later in the game, because you might want to just run past enemies at a point further on in the game, and it can be kind of tricky to see what's going on the first couple of runs, but sometimes you need to press a switch to open a door, other times you need to light candles. But if the door closes behind you and all the other doors are closed as well, then generally you just need to kill all the enemies in the room. This one has 13 sons at home with various names. I think I've seen all the dialogue 100 times at this point, so I'm kind of just skipping through that at this point. I want to actually go back to that one room again, because I want to see if there's a secret room there. But we'll get to that when we get to that. For now, though, let's move on. I will just nudge every single wall, which might be a secret room. You might need to bomb it as well. There might be secret rooms in these places I've been exploring. I just, there's a chance I've missed them. Because I would have to bomb them, and I would have to know that I had to bomb them and stuff like that. I just don't want to use that many bombs, because quite frankly, we don't have that many to use willy-nilly on random walls, and then sometimes stuff like that happens, you know, so... It can be rough out there. So, here's Azora's Gem Pond. These sometimes spawn on floors. There's a couple which always spawn. We have to throw in 2 gems. We have none, so we're just gonna leave that alone. But at some point we'll probably find a gem, and then maybe I'll be able to explain. There's a couple, I think, sort of guaranteed. Another sort of useful thing as well is that when you enter a room, you can like go back into the doorway a little bit, and that actually is really strong against a lot of the enemies in the game. With these, maybe not as much, just because they have a long stick, but there is also certain enemies which just use their body to attack. And it can be useful to just be in the doorway and just try and swipe them off like that. This guy used to live under a bridge. This is one of 2 useful NPCs in the game because he gives you a little quest. There's a friend in the rebel village, she's ill, and he wants to deliver a letter. Now, usually the downside of this letter is that it takes up an inventory slot, and the only reason to have this item is to take it all the way to floor number 6, as you might be able to see on the map. But yeah, we don't really... We're not gonna have any issues with that, fortunately, this time around. So yeah, not at all concerned about that one, weirdly. And I will, real quickly, before moving on, check if I may have made a mistake. And the main reason I say that is because I'm gonna have to walk all the way around to get to where I am. Now we have 40 arrows. I just want to check for the secret room. We have 40 arrows, which we can't use because we don't have a bow, unfortunately. So that is just the way it is. Yeah, we can't walk through the wall here. I will try and bomb it just for fun. But I'm not exactly expecting to find any secret rooms here. I feel like I already tried to bomb that wall. But yeah, sometimes the door closes behind you and then you have to walk all the way around. It is what it is, because there's just no doors leading to that same spot unless we go all the way here, but we're almost all the way back there again anyway, so it's fine. I'm a little tempted to look for more secret rooms, but I don't have that much to go on. There might just be nothing, so you know what? We're just going to move on instead. The reason I went all the way back is just sort of in the hope to find a secret room, because I would have liked to have those health ups, because there is a boss room over here. You can tell from the icon on the floor here. And we're just gonna give it a go. It is Armos from our standard first boss from Link to the Past. Unfortunately, without the bow, he's a little annoying. He is weak to bombs. He's not weak to rods, unfortunately, so we have to be a little careful. But it's a lot of sword swings. I'm gonna throw a bomb at sort of the middle there and hope to deal some decent damage. But with the extra attack that we have and the extra armor that we have, this shouldn't be too difficult. It shouldn't take too long. You just want to get as many sort of horizontal swipes in there. Also, this boss works slightly differently than it does in the original Link to the Past, in the sense that you could sort of stun lock them in the original. I don't think you can do that in this one. Once the second to last one is destroyed, one turns red and you just have to swing that one like 10 times. But the main thing you just have to think about is never swing down, and then you'll be fine. That's pretty much the whole boss fight in a nutshell. Another thing to sort of be aware of is if you pick up a bomb that you placed, the fuse timer resets, and that can be kind of confusing at first as to when you have to throw your bombs. But generally, the moment you throw it, the fuse timer starts again, and that's how you sort of time it. Now, here's a tent. These also show up on the minimap. They're kind of in between floors. You can use these to save, and you can come back at a later date to continue this same run. But I'm just gonna keep on going this time around. And we're just gonna go for a run. We are in the catacombs, and we're making decent progress, I suppose. Now we are going to be fighting skeletons. We have our sort of run-of-the-mill standard Link to the Past skeletons. We also have these, which are Basically just soldiers again, but slightly reskinned. That one dropped a mushroom, which is maybe our first health item that we actually have in our inventory, so that's actually... It's kind of useful, I suppose. I mean, 2 health isn't grand, but it's more than nothing. The Gibdos show up as well. They are not nearly as dangerous as they are in Link to the Past, fortunately, and I will probably now immediately die to one now that I've said that, but yeah, they just don't deal with nearly as much damage. They seem to die a lot quicker, so no worries. There is flying enemies in the game as well, and I'm pointing that out now to sort of point out that you never really need to kill them. So yeah, just don't really worry. If you can avoid them, just avoid them. If you can't avoid them, then kill them, but if you're struggling to hit them, you can just run away. Unless the room requires you to kill them, you can just leave, and it'll probably be alright. Now, the red ones, the red skeletons, throw bones once they've had a chance to jump back and land again, so we want to destroy those as quickly as we can. I don't know if I'm seeing things, but this might be a secret. I'm just gonna try it. Yeah, fair enough. I thought that there was maybe like a small change in the rubble, but I think my eyes are just seeing things they want to see in the hope that I get a fun little trinket, but unfortunately, it was not to be. So I think I'm just gonna keep on running for a while. I do, again, like to explore every floor as sort of thoroughly as possible. At least this time around. After a while, you do start to sort of run through things, but it is nice to just sort of explore as many rooms as possible, to get as many treasures as possible to make life just as easy as it can be. But with that in mind is the main reason why I didn't go through the door with the key requirement, because 99% chance that I'm gonna have to go there anyway, so we'll end up going there in a minute. There's actually a pretty decent chunk of floor here, I will say. Here is the Rod of Stone. It is similar to the Rod of Fire. I don't know if I'm using it wrong, but it turns enemies into stone, and then when you hit them, they stop being stone. And it just seems worse. I don't know. Buying a random treasure chest is not always worth it, and this was unfortunately one of those times, but at least it gives me a better idea of where to explore first. These switches will raise and lower platforms, walls of the same color. Right now, red is lowered, blue is raised. Now it's the other way around, just like it works in Link to the Past. And that is also sort of an indication on where you're meant to go to progress in the level that you're in. So I'm a little worried. I'm not worried anymore, I just see the key there. I think what's going to happen is that once we go through that one locked door, there is going to be a second locked door immediately after it or something like that. That is requiring this key that we just found. So I think we're still basically going in the right direction. Maybe a little bit less on purpose than I intended, but it's certainly working out. So not at all worried about that one. And it looks like this is a... I wonder where this goes. This might just lead to a one-way door. Because I feel like this is basically nothing, but we'll see, we'll see. We'll just walk into that just in case. Yeah, it's just, it's not even a one-way door. I think I just got lost on the map. Sometimes the map can be a little bit difficult to read for me. But that's fine. We're going in the right direction either way. I think this should lead to that locked door, which will then probably lead to, somewhere. This is just a room. I don't know. There has been some patches in the past. And some rooms have been changed a bit with how they generate. Like some rooms would have like moving enemies that later were removed because it was basically just impossible not to take damage in them. And I wonder if some of those empty rooms are just sort of residue where the room is still there, but there isn't anything in it. Who knows? It doesn't really matter too much. I'm not gonna worry too much about it either way and just be happy to have a room where I have no danger to deal with. I will happily take that sometimes. Having said that, obviously I would like rooms where there is treasure, as that will hopefully make our lives a little bit easier. But that's okay. Let us move on. The door closed behind us. It seems to be going into one direction where we can go, so likely the doors will open once we kill all the enemies here. There is a crack in the wall here, but it leads to a previous room, so that's not going to be a secret room. And this is a really big shop with various good things. I do like dealing more damage. I also quite like the bow, especially with the inventory space that we have. With the bow, I'm always a little bit conflicted because the arrows take up inventory space and the bow also takes up a separate slot. You can, as you can sort of see here, get a quiver where the arrows will go in there and it will at least save an inventory slot. But it can be a rough going. Now the sewers will occasionally have doors behind these vines. And the game is very nice in letting me show that off immediately. But it might also give you an idea of what's going on over here, where there's just some switches blocking nothing. But you do generally need to destroy those vines to progress in the dungeon. Random enemy just had a key there. I will take that and move on. I did kind of waste some bombs there, so now we have nothing. These holes, I'm fairly sure, are just decorative. So you don't need to worry about enemies popping out of them. So that's nice. These enemies will still eat your coins and things. They don't eat your shield, in my experience. Also, you can use the arrows to destroy vines, which I think they added fairly recently, which that's why I did it on purpose there, certainly. Now, crabs are a nuisance. Crabs are sort of on the level of I'm tempted to use my rods on them whenever I see them, because they're surprisingly annoying to deal with, but fortunately that one had a lot of pots in the room. And as long as you're just sort of underneath them, you can generally take care of them quite easily, but they do move very rapidly and can be a bother to deal with for sure. But let's move on. We have a key after all, so we can keep going in this direction. A lot of pots. Pots always useful to pick up because there might just be something good in there. This will allow us to go through that one little platform. I will walk into every single room once I remember to do it, just in case there's secret rooms. It will occasionally work, and that makes it worthwhile. Now, I wonder if there's a door here. Oh, look at that. Lovely. Now, you can actually throw bombs down the stairs as well, which... ooh, kiwi. Occasionally is useful to deal with enemies that are camping stairs, which can be very annoying, but fortunately right now not necessary. And yeah, crabs are so fast. Crabs are so annoying to deal with. To be fair, I could have just used the bow and arrow as well, especially when I miss several shots that are honestly quite costly, so I probably shouldn't just be willy-nilly using my rod like that, but it doesn't really matter too much. I do feel like you need to not worry too much about consumables. Like, it's very good to just use things, I would say. Especially the further you progress in the game, just use your items. Just make the game a little bit easier, you know? Because you only have so many of them, and the game does end at some point. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now. Let us grab the bow and use that a little bit, because we are nearly maxed out on arrows after all, and if we find any arrow drops, then we can't really do anything with it. I will say that that crack in the wall that's above us is almost certainly a secret. I just don't have a bomb to deal with it right now, unfortunately. So we might get back to that a little bit later if a bomb drops anywhere in this dungeon, or if we can buy a bomb or something like that. I'm a bit worried about not seeing curses yet, because I'll be honest, I've not seen a run without a curse yet. And the curses can be pretty bad. I will say I haven't taken that much damage yet, so I will take it. There is a blue potion, which is fair enough, 100 coins. Blue potion, of course, also takes up inventory space, but again, that's just such a non-issue this run. This is the Ring of Rupees, where you can use magic to get more rupees. But with the Pendant of Wealth that we have, I feel rupees are never going to be a problem, so I'm just not really going to be too worried about that one. I also feel there's just better items to use magic for, rods being one of them, but there is other items as well, which are just really nice. I think my one downside with this run so far is just sort of the lack of things that are useful. Like, I wouldn't have minded like a few more armor upgrades, a few more weapon upgrades, stuff like that, but they might show up. I'm not particularly worried with how this run is going so far. I can't exactly be too mad how things are going. Another... Oh, a star. That's nice. I will actually just grab that. On occasion, you might see me open the inventory. That's just sort of a weird controller issue with this game. It is fixable, I just haven't bothered. So, but I think if you add the game as a game on Steam, then it should stop just randomly opening the menu, because I think it just interacts with like the big picture mode of Steam or something. Every now and then it gets lost, but it's fine. It doesn't really affect gameplay too much. It's like at that point where it's like just not annoying enough to fix, but also annoying enough to have it be like, It's just one of those weird issues. But as an end user, I will just do everything in life to make my life more miserable, so that's how we're moving on. But let's keep going. I didn't really point out the star at all. I feel like it was kind of obvious what it did. I don't think you need my explanation. These enemies are still electric, and I don't know if you ever have to kill them. I think they might drop loot sometimes, because as you can see, it dropped a heart. But I don't think they ever have like a key or something which would soft lock you, at least not in my experience, but it might just be rare. But yeah, never seen it at least, so it's probably fine. Probably fine. Let's just run along with our vast amounts of money. Yeah, actually managed to grab a rupee there. And when you kill the enemy afterwards, it does drop the things that it ate from you. These enemies still work the same as well. I will also point out, you can't attack as quickly as you could in the Link to the Past. It is, I think, something they might add in a later patch. They have talked about it, but it doesn't really matter. The sword swing as it is right now, once you get used to it, it is still pretty good. And enemies do take damage basically anytime you swing your sword, which they don't have as much invulnerability as they did in Link to the Past. So the main issue with adding the really quick sword swing is that it just turned into a chainsaw basically. But yeah, it is what it is. We found 0 bombs, so I'm not going to go back to that secret room. That is almost certainly a secret room, but yeah, it is what it is. We already have so much money, so it doesn't really matter too much. With that, though, we are about to enter the Rebel Village. Now, the Rebel Village is built up exactly the same every single time, so I'm just going to sort of rush through this. Ordinarily, what I would do in the Rebel Village is see if I can get that Pendant of Wealth from one of the shops that is available in this village. Because having the Pendant of Wealth before you get on with your business is just really nice. It just gives you a lot more money to deal with that 20%. It usually just makes up for itself once you reach it. Also enjoy the SimCity music right here. There is a lot of dialogue in this. I'm not going to go through it all. there is simply too much going on. There was a Star Wars reference in the first person we talked to. There's a little tree guy over there. We're going to deal with some of it, but I'm not going to talk to everyone. It's something you get to explore for yourself if you ever go through this. But there is a lot in this village. There is an amount of chests that we will be going through from the get-go. There is a library here. If you talk to the librarian, he'll say, instructions are located on the sign, and then the sign just says, shh, which is good. We'll get back to that in a minute. And we're just gonna go through all of the houses and steal everyone's things. I'm genuinely not sure if it's ever worth to break those pots in particular, but I've always done it. Now, the old man in the jail cell, who's also in this picture right here, talked about sending a letter to a friend. This is the friend. I will just let you read the dialogue yourself. You get somewhere between like 150 and 250 rupees from this character by delivering the letter, which makes it worthwhile. Provided you have the inventory space to spare, obviously. There's a handful of items which are more useful, but let's just not be too distracted by the dialogue here. It is genuinely quite a touching moment. And I don't want to yap over it too much, and the character dies as the letter is delivered. The music works quite well. It's genuinely quite a good scene. Let me almost fully ignore it just to get more treasures instead, though. Because that's the kind of run we're playing. But it's good. It's a good moment. Have you seen the weird tree by the bridge? So there is a lot of hints going around in the dialogue of these people as well. There's also some money behind the waterfall here, which always spawns. We have so much money. This is such a just ridiculously lucky run. This character lost their mirror and is hoping someone will find it. Just setting up a lot of backstory, so when we get to the point of all of that, it'll make sense why I'm walking all through town. This character is talking about a treasure behind a locked door, but the door is locked, we don't have a key. And there is various shops in this town. This one sells food. It's the food mart. I'm probably not gonna bother with this shop whatsoever. There is a pub here. I think all these characters just yap, so we're just gonna just sort of walk through this. There's this guy who believes in himself. There is video poker that you can play. I'm actually not sure if you can change your bets, but I'm just gonna bet one coin real quick. I'm gonna get like two kings. We should go for jacks, then we could have gotten our rupee back. I'll do one more. You are using your I didn't mean to do that. I was going for a flush. I'm gonna try one more time. You can win rupees with this technically. But you need to press the right buttons, and I just kept pressing the wrong buttons to hold my card. So unfortunately, that's just not gonna happen. There is this character right here who I think talks about the weapon shop. Yeah, he's just a weird little guy there. He's gonna hack frogs. Look at who he's talking to. There's an arcade here, which first of all, there's a pop machine here, and this one will drop a random can. And since there's like 100 different cans, it might be worthwhile, but there's a chance you're going to fill up your entire inventory with different types of cans that don't stack, and that's kind of unfortunate. There is Zerberg over here, which is just a whole thing on its own. I'm just... This is just sort of an incredible little thing. If you touch the walls, you die. It's very much an arcade game. I think it is based on a real thing. I feel like I've seen this before. If you get far enough into the game, then there will be even more like little secrets and things. I think there's like a whole second arcade game somewhere further along the line. And it's just a whole separate thing from everything else that's going on in this game, and it's just, I love that. I think that's such a weird little addition to it, but yeah, it's I'm not good at that game, as you can tell. There's also a separate game here, just Pitfall, just hanging out. I'm just not. Just go play this yourself and deal with all this stuff over here. I'm sure that I've not seen everything it has to offer, but it's tricky. And I don't want. It's not what I want to do right now. So this person needs a magic mushroom. The main shops that are interesting in here are these three. First of all, this one. This one sells pendants and rods. Now the green rod is the one I love the most because it's the rod of wealth. It turns enemies into rupees. And it's a one-shot just like the fire rod, but it also gives you money upon killing them. This protects you against spikes and explosions. It's fine, but I've never bought it. So I genuinely actually have no idea how good it is. There is a place there where you can recharge your rod as well. I think I'm not going to bother this time. This one sells weapon upgrades. It sells, yeah, basically one of everything. So we probably will go here. It very much depends on what this shop sells, because this one's a wild card for sure. So if you are speedrunning this, this is what you want to see, because this is the master key, kind of. I don't know what it's called, actually. Yeah, this is called master key. It stops you from needing any keys for the remainder of the game, and this will open up any of the colored gates by just walking towards them. And just take a sip of my water there. Having those two means you can just run past everything the game has to offer, except for rooms where you have to kill everything. I would argue there's one item missing from this shop, but beyond that, it has genuinely everything you could possibly want. So we might come back to that, because they're just incredibly useful. The weapon shop was selling a quiver, which can be really good as well, because it means we can carry double the arrows, and that's really nice to have as well. There are also different pendants in the game, like right now in the bottom left we can see which pendants we have. There's the one that we have right now, which gives us more money, but there's also one that gives you the entire map. There's one that blocks curses, stuff like that, like really good stuff. And we have no curse protection right now, which it might actually be a problem later. Anyway, underneath this bush is the All Donut Diet book, which probably belongs to the library, which will be something we'll be delivering in a minute. There's a whole fetch quest going on over here. Cacti don't deal damage. I do feel like I should point that out because I walk into them almost every time. Here's a gemstone. We haven't seen one of those yet, weirdly. Usually you get about 100 of them and you need 2 for them to be useful. But yeah, weirdly they haven't been showing up. And here is Sahasrara, who has another fetch quest for us to deliver this rare wishing stone to a wishing pond in the dwarven mining town, which we can see on our map to the right as well. I'm gonna just sort of get rid of something here, because we are out of inventory space somehow. And I'll just get rid of that candy. I think it heals 2 hearts as well as the other healing items we have, so not really too interested in that. But there is still some more stuff to do. First of all, there is a hidden chest right here, 25 rupees. I'm a little tempted to buy the key and the moon pearl just to sort of speed up the later parts of this game a bit more. But I would like a safety item, and one item in particular that exists in the game is the cape, and the cape will nullify all challenge. But unfortunately we haven't seen that one yet, so I do actually have to play the game. Here's just a guy who just want to take a salad. Replenishes 4 hearts, that is better than what we have. So I'm just going to leave that behind because we are at full health. And with that, we are going to get started on our little in-town fetch quest, because we found a book in the little bush in the bottom right of town. So I will just give that to the librarian, who owns a mirror in his lost and found section of the library, which we can take to the person who was missing their mirror, who will then give us a mushroom, who you might remember the shopkeeper in the magic shop, bottle shop. I actually don't know what this shop is even called. Needs it to finish a potion, which then gives us the magic powder. Now the magic powder works differently. I want to say it works differently than it does in Link to the Past. It works mostly the same, but instead of turning people into fairies, it turns them into rats. I haven't tried it with every enemy, but it also works on this guy. I don't mind the magic powder, it's just kind of fiddly to use, but turning an enemy into rats is also pretty useful. Because rats die in 1 hit. And there's going to be a lot of enemies later which don't, so it can certainly be useful. Now that guy had a medallion. The medallion can be used in the graveyard over here. It uses up half your MP meter, which makes it, I would argue, unusable in any other instance. But I'll be honest, I haven't tried it against bosses. I genuinely don't know if it works. It probably doesn't, though. This king was looking for this medallion, though. And giving the king the medallion will give us the key, which is the key that was mentioned earlier to open the locked treasure of the king. So we're just gonna take this. It's up for debate which is the best quest reward to get out of that, but it's so much money. Especially with the Pendant of Wealth, that I feel it's probably worthwhile to go for this as a reward. Plus we get our inventory slot back, so that's also kind of nice. I might get rid of these kinstones actually, because we have 3 of them. And you just sort of need to be lucky that you find the right second half of it. But I will buy this, I will get this, which I think, yeah, that we didn't have armor yet. Triforce shield, I'll take the super gloves, which give us more damage, the quiver, because I could use the inventory slots, honestly. I don't think we need to buy the arrows, it just doesn't seem nearly worthwhile. And I think I'll just open every chest, why not? There's a can of Kitty Cola, arrows. God, these chests are terrible. Second gem. Unfortunately, it's a blue one, so it stacks on top of the other one. I will take this. I'll actually just take this. So the treasure bag allows us to carry all of these things in a separate bag, and so it doesn't take up inventory space. Again, if you were sort of speedrunning this, you'd go for one of these. I might. I'm gonna buy the Rod of Wealth, or whatever it's called. And just turn people into money. Because this will just be eventually worthwhile once I've killed enough enemies. And I'll just use up all my mana to recharge my Fire Rod. I might buy a green potion, just to be full on mana again. It doesn't have one, but it does have a blue potion. Which we already have one of anyway, so that's stacked, so that's actually pretty good. And we have a couple of these as well, so actually I'll just go for this. And I'll just leave the key and the Moon Pearl alone. Which, you know, I've been trying. I tried a couple times to sort of beat this game under an hour, which I nearly did. I was like an hour and 5 minutes. And I didn't get either of those. And I feel like if I got both of those, you could just be done in like 45 minutes. I've seen people, I think the fastest I've seen people online do it is like sub 30 minutes. So you can really run through this. Anyway, we're just gonna throw 2 of these in. The game comes with a manual. And there's like 8 different types of gems. I haven't actually seen the ice orbs yet. I actually fully forgot. But there's 8 different types of gems, I think. And each combination of gems gives you different items from the Zora thing. I have looked at the sort of table once to see what you get from what, and after that I just sort of went, yeah, you just throw in whatever you have, because it's sort of hard to get the right gems. For one, because we, well, so far have gotten 2 in the whole run, but usually you get a lot more, but it's still very tricky to get the right gems that you're looking for, so I usually just don't bother. Should have probably picked up that kiwi again. Anyway. We now have a new set of enemies to deal with. These guys kind of suck, but there is a stopwatch there. Very occasionally a stopwatch will drop, which will freeze all the enemies in the room and they'll explode when you hit them, which is obviously very nice. Let's do this real quick. Make use of the doorway because, yeah, these enemies just cannot even reach you at all when you're in a doorway. So, certainly a safe spot to be in as we progress through this dungeon. Again, if we had the master key, we could have just gone through that key door and just moved on. Probably could have skipped a decent chunk of this dungeon. I will show off the ice orbs at some point, probably in the later floors, because it is sort of like a bomb with a really big radius that doesn't affect you, but it has a tendency to kill entire rooms of enemies, which is obviously very useful against strong enemies. So we'll deal with that when we deal with that. I'm just gonna go over here real quick because there's a door here as well, and I just find this a bit easier to navigate one door at a time. We should have one of these, yeah. So the green kinstone, I think the order of how good something is from these things is like green is the worst, and then there's blue and then red and then gold. So hopefully there's no curse in this, but we'll see. There's no way this isn't like a secret though, right? Really? Dang. Really would have expected that. So we get some ramen and some bananas. Well, it certainly fills up our inventory. I mean, it's not terrible. It's healing items, and that can be useful if we take damage. We just haven't really been taking damage, so yeah, it is what it is. I'll try this one as well, just for good measure. Maybe there's a secret room here. Hey, look at that. 2 more chests for us. There it is. That is... I would argue this is the best item in the game, like by a country mile. I will just drop that mushroom for that because The main sort of downside of the cape in Link to the Past was how much mana it used, and it just doesn't use nearly as much mana in this. And also, it doesn't have like the sort of startup animation, so it's just so useful. But if you combine that with the Master Key and the Moon Pearl, you will just run through this game. It is unbelievable because you can just run past everything. And quite frankly, I'm a little bit tempted to start doing that now with what we have got going on, just to sort of speed up through this. Because I'm sort of running out of items to go for, which is unreal at this point in the game. Like, I would like maybe a little bit more damage, but the fact that we haven't been cursed once, and the fact that we have all these items, like some of these are nearly maxed out at this point. There's a ring of rupees. No, Rod of Hearts, which turns enemies into hearts, which is in fact more useful than bananas, believe it or not. But yeah, I'd like a weapon upgrade, but that's basically the only thing I feel like I'm missing at this point. And it might be worthwhile to just not even open chests anymore from this point on, just to reduce the fact to get, like, reduce the chance of getting cursed. Because a curse, there are some curses which are like, the map's gone, and you kill 10 enemies and it'll be back again, and you know, that's fine. And then there's curses like, health items do nothing anymore, pick up hearts which will not heal you in order to get uncursed, and at that point you're just in a world of hurt. Also, we have a sword upgrade now that just destroys pots when you swing at them, which is a nice little upgrade. It just simplifies things a little bit. These BMOs are not cool. I will also, like, one thing that's not, I didn't even mention, is that the cape turns you invisible. And in this game that actually makes a difference because there's enemies that follow you around which will stop following you when you use the cape because they can't find you anymore, which is incredibly useful. So it's an incredibly powerful item. This run is about as blessed as it gets. It's sort of ridiculous how many good things we've gotten in this run. I'm just gonna turn these crabs into money. I'm not sure how the money drops work from this run. I've sort of convinced myself that getting the money drops from stronger enemies will give you more rupees. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's just luck. Also, you will still get the regular drop from enemies that you kill with the Rod of Wealth. I'm getting so many ice orbs. Maybe I should actually start using these. I don't know if there's a limit to how many ice orbs you can draw, but let me just show off what the ice orb does once we're in there. This'll do. So anything that gets hit by that fire turns into ice and then gets one-shotable. And as you can see, it's a pretty big explosion, and right now we have 8 of them, so yeah, that's it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Let me just real quickly walk into the walls here because I have a hunch, but it didn't work out. At some point, I will hopefully walk through a wall to prove that I'm not just making this up, it's real. But it is what it is. Like I said, there is a pendant that just gives you an alert every time that you enter a room with a secret in it. And we just haven't found those yet, so yeah, it is what it is. That's fine though. Let me just do this. This wand will also, this rod will effectively just give you so much money. It's incredible. This is the bomb bag, which also makes it so your bombs have their own separate inventory slot. So we have an extra slot to play with, so that's nice. Should I get this? I might as well, I suppose. Since we basically have infinite money at this point anyway, I can just buy whatever I want. These enemies die to rods. They also die to a strong enough sword, which is so wild to me. Because I'm so used to those enemies not dying from anything except magic powder, so it's so useful. Also, apparently you can just walk into BMOs. I didn't actually know that, but fair enough, I suppose. The things you learn. There's certain actions which I've just not tried because I'm so used to those things not working in Link to the Past that I've just not bothered. But there's also swords which are strong enough to destroy these spiky enemies, for instance. And it's like things that you sort of discover by accident after a couple runs, because It feels so unnatural to even try. Anyway, let me just... Whoop. There you go. That's an entire room of enemies dead in one bubble. This also sort of goes along with don't be afraid of using items, because it's worth to just deal with annoying rooms with the strong items that you have. You don't need to keep them until the end of the run. In fact, I recommend that you don't. For reasons which will become obvious later, which is, we'll get to that. But for now, we'll take these. It's just a free room with some gems. No problem whatsoever. And with that, we will just move on. I'm very tempted to just use a whole bunch of these ice orbs, but I need to remember that I'm not that far into the game yet. Usually, when I am at a point where I have this many items, I'm basically on the last floor. And in this run, I'm like halfway, and I don't want to literally use everything just yet. That's a mean room. Some of these rooms have also been patched in a way where... Or I think before, this thing would just roll towards you immediately. And you would be able to avoid it by running into the doorway the moment you entered the room, but you needed to be very ready for that. So they have been nice with the patches for sure. I don't actually have that Kingston, surprising. Fair enough, I suppose. Let's move on though. Sometimes the rooms will be dark. We have a little candle, as you can see to the left, and there are candle upgrades. Alternatively, the game comes with an INI file, which allows you to turn off darkness. But I do like the lighting effects in this, so I'd rather just keep them on, but... Sometimes if you're playing in like a slightly lit up room, it can be just impossible to see anything, but so far it seems to be going alright. Plus you can sometimes light the torches as well to make it a little bit more easier to see things. So I'm not particularly worried because I'm playing in the dark right now, so I can actually see. I'm taking so little damage. It's... I'm so not used to having this many things available to me, but God, you know what? I'll take an easy run for once, because this game is tricky. Like, I've died more runs than I've won, for sure, and it's nice to just have a run where I can just take it as easy as possible, because even if I was facing anything difficult, I can just switch to the cape and be invincible, so no worries whatsoever. Now, here we have Twin Mold. I forget what this boss's name actually is. Basically functions the same as they do in Link to the Past, except that we have a really quick bow in comparison. Like, the arrow just comes out a lot quicker. So it's a lot easier to hit the boss, which I do not mind. Since we have this big shield, we don't nearly need to worry about ever taking damage. But sort of on instinct, I'm still always not diagonally away from him at any point in the fight. And since we have a million arrows, I'm just going to spam them. I don't know if he's like immune to rods or not, because in Link to the Past, you could get the ice rod before you fight this boss, and he would die from like 2 hits from the ice rod. And I actually don't know if that works in this, because some of the bosses have like slightly different immunities than they do in Link to the Past, but it doesn't really matter. Not for me in this particular run, at least. There are certainly runs where I would have been mad. Anyway, I'll take this. I'll take this as well. I'm just filling up on mana, because there's going to be a point where most of the floors will just look like this. And it's just nice to have a lot of mana going around. We have new enemy types again, the Mimics, which don't mimic in this game. And they... I don't know how I would describe their movement. They swoosh around, and they are very annoying to deal with, especially the red ones. So just be careful, I suppose, when you have to deal with them. There's a chest. I'm like actively trying to get cursed at this point because I just want to show it off, and it's just not happening. I don't get it. But this game is very random, I suppose. And like more random than most roguelikes, I feel. And some of it has been changed a little bit. Like there's been changes to the kinstone things, for instance. Because it used to be you'd find a kinstone and you just wouldn't find the matching thing at all, and I feel like the odds of that are just significantly higher now. But there is certainly still a lot of randomness to go around in this game for sure. Now, I mentioned earlier, flying enemies, you don't have to kill them. These enemies in particular, I will probably exclusively run away from them because they are just the worst to deal with. Occasionally I might kill them with like an ice orb or something, but it is, ugh, I hate them. They're my least favorite enemy. Also, I was hoping that this would in fact lead to less, like I was hoping for more dead ends, I suppose. And we're not really finding them. Also, because I didn't buy the master key in the Rebel shop, we will actually occasionally need to open chests. Oh, that's nice. It's the improved candle that I was talking about earlier. I do actually want that a little bit because it just makes it a bit... Didn't know I had that can. I haven't looked at my early inventory for a while, I suppose. But yeah, we do actually have to open chests every now and then. And that can still curse us because there can be keys in chests sometimes, so it's something to look out for. So I've sort of made my run more perilous, but given how the run's been going, I'm not particularly worried. It's just that the later floors become very dangerous, and it would be nice to just have all the safety measures that I can in place. I'm just gonna run through this one more time because I was sort of mentally checked out and I didn't really check if there was any more doors here that I need to deal with. But might as well grab these hearts because I'm not going to come back after this. One of these walls, I'm going to walk through it and it's going to be amazing. Everyone will applaud. But not today. But yeah, I hope my what I've said about the flying enemies, that you don't have to kill them, is true, because that's been my experience so far. We're grabbing this. The star also just insta-kills everything, which is really nice. Because some of those enemies take a couple hits, and in a room like this, it's just an awkward layout. Like, dealing with spikes is annoying. Which is probably why there's an item that nullifies spike damage. But I didn't buy that, so we don't have that. I should use up the Rod of Rupees before I use any other rod, because it's the rod that gives me more money, and buying things makes running easier. So that's exactly what we'll do. We have the key, so we could go in there. I will, once again, do a little double check for doors, because I'm fairly sure that I walked past some doors earlier, and I would like to explore everything, please. I forget if this was the entrance. Yeah, this was the entrance of the dungeon. There might be a secret room there, actually. It's sort of positioned just interestingly enough. Can't win them all. But I thought there was more doors here as well, and maybe I just misremembered? No, there is a door here, yeah. With some more cracks in the walls. Don't look at me opening the inventory on purpose. Beep, beep, beep. Because there might be keys here. I just want to make sure that we didn't miss out on any of those. I'm just gonna try to bomb this. You can run away. Oh, that didn't hit me. Sure. That beam certainly just went straight through me, but I'll take that, I guess. Now, one thing about secret rooms, I guess, is that there won't be keys in here. There will be nothing that you absolutely need to beat a dungeon. So, if you are stuck, then secret rooms is not what you're looking for. You do, in fact, need to find something that will help you progress. And there is a key here, nice. I'm hoping that the one enemy I didn't kill there that was on the ground didn't have a key as well, but I feel like with 2 keys in hand, the odds of that are really small. So we're just going to keep on moving on. But happy I went back, I suppose, because otherwise I would have walked even further into the dungeon and then realized I needed a key, so that would have just been more annoying. So fair enough. Yep, just walk right into that. I need to lower this. I will probably find a switch here, yep. But so far so good. I need to stop running into spikes. I mean, we do have enough healing items in our inventory, and some of them may be worth using from time to time. just to empty our inventory a little bit, because there is just better healing items in the game as well, and we are getting more and more health, so it might be worthwhile to do that. But for now, we'll just move on. No secret room that I can walk through. You can still lose mana from those enemies, but only upon hit. It's not when they just go through you that you lose the mana, but only when you actually take damage from the enemy. You can also eat consumables as they're on the floor if your inventory is full, which is really nice, and that is just a great fairy, which will heal me to full health if I talk to her. So there's just no danger in this run. I feel like I'm jinxing myself, but so far with how the run's been going, I could probably do that. I can probably jinx myself without any real issues, because the game's just sort of given it to me, and I'm not really too bothered about running through the enemies with no regard for my life right now. So that's exactly what we'll do, in the hope that some danger comes our way. Now we are at the right edge of the map, so I didn't really need to check for secret rooms there. As you can see, I lost some mana upon taking damage. I might check here actually, just to be safe, but no. Like, I promise enemies will start dealing damage again. It's just that we have so much defense upgrades at this point that the game's not really balanced for that. Here is the dragon sword, which is shock resistant, so if we find the green banana enemies, we can just attack them without any worry. Same with the jellyfish, so that's very nice. So we have even more defense now. Plus, we no longer need to worry about shock enemies, so that's very nice. I'll actually take the map. Yeah, I'll just take this. I wouldn't mind having a map from time to time. It just makes things a little bit quicker to go through, and I don't mind that. These enemies, unfortunately, do not die in one hit from the arrow, but the bow and arrow is still a pretty effective way to deal with them, so that's exactly what we'll do. These enemies shoot very annoying fireballs, but I feel like with the defense that we have right now, I probably don't need to worry about it too much. Yeah, with the sword, they take an extra hit as well, but the bow is also just a pretty strong weapon. So it is worth using from time to time. I'll actually take this, because just having 1,000 of those is going to make the end of the game very easy. It's just going to be very nice to go through that without any real worries. Oh, fully charge this actually. Why not? Take 2 of those. We will. Oh my god. So this does have a limit to what it can carry. It's just very rare that you reach said limit. I also just threw this gem into a wall, which that's a thing you kind of need to look out for that you don't do. But at the same time, it's one of those things that I don't really care. If I throw a gem into a wall, it probably means that I wasn't that interested in the gem to begin with. Because if you walk into a gem, then you pick it up if you have space for it. And if I don't have space for it, I might as well just throw it into a wall. That's fine. Now I am at the point where I feel like I can probably just run and not really care anymore. The only thing in my mind that's stopping me is like, what if I need a key from one of the enemies? Which arguably is a good reason as to why I should have bought the big key. Yeah, okay, we'll just throw away our map here. Buy this instead. And now we have map and compass effect for the rest of the game. Which, as you can probably imagine, is pretty good. Wizrobes, I'm actually not sure if they can carry keys. They can carry stuff, for sure. But do I care enough? Because they're kind of annoying to kill, as you might be able to tell. I think you can get a mirror shield and reflect their projectiles, but I don't think I've ever actually had a mirror shield at this point in the game. But they're very annoying to kill because you have to hit them twice and they disappear again once you hit them once, and then you have to wait again. It's just, I don't want to deal with it. So we're just going to hope that we don't have to do that. This room sucks. I don't like this room. I don't like any room with conveyor belts, really, but that's a me thing. That's me not being able to deal with my problems that I face when it comes to having to move around on sort of slippery terrain. These enemies are not a problem at all. Gotta watch out for the water turtles though. Fortunately, the water turtles you don't have to destroy, so we can just walk past those. 25 arrows. A key. Like I said, we do still need keys on occasion. There's probably going to be a teleporter coming up soon, because I'm not really seeing how else it's going to connect, and indeed. There used to be a bug where if you activated the cape before going through a teleporter, it would keep the cape active, but it wouldn't cost mana anymore. I don't know if that's still in the game. I think they patched that. But just having permanent invulnerability is also a pretty easy way to get through the game. I can say, without experience weirdly, I've only read about it, but it sounds pretty useful. I feel like you could get through the game pretty easily if you cannot take damage and don't lose mana forever. So that would be good, but unfortunately, like I said, I think they patched that out. Anyway, let's wake everyone up. The quick bow as well is just so good. It is so satisfying to use this bow. Because it doesn't have like sort of the wind up that the bow from Link Over the Past had, and it's so nice. It's just lovely. Big fan. Now, let's hit that. This certainly feels like a secret area. So I'm just gonna bomb that. No curses, please. Yeah, just... I'm lying. I wanted a curse, actually, but there's still a chance we can get a curse on the final floor that's like healing doesn't work and you have to pick up hearts to get rid of it, which I've had once, and it's the worst. Also, sometimes you can push the blocks and a treasure chest will spawn, and you'll see me just run past basically all of them because I cannot be bothered. So occasionally I might miss out on a treasure just because I don't bother. But it tends to spawn so many of the stones, and I don't want to deal with it. Especially in a run like this, where I'm pretty much good to go. I don't think I particularly need to worry about stuff anymore. I don't want to spend time pushing blocks, so that's exactly what we're not going to do. This enemy type is just sad for the most part, but if you're struggling with it, you can use a rod. If it's combined with other enemies, it can be kind of scary, but in this instance, it's basically nothing. And we move on to the dwarf village. Yeah, this run is flying by. I say that, we've been playing for an hour and 12 minutes, but yeah, something like that at least. Now, in the dwarf village, there is a piece of preparation that I forgot to make, which is this sign right here. It has a treasure map, and I'm just gonna real quickly take a screenshot of that and put it on that screen. This is a bunch of numbers. It'll make sense in a second. Probably will be able to figure it out. It's not super complicated. It's just once you understand the first step, all the other steps immediately make sense afterwards. Anyway, we're taking this gem in this secret room. There's a secret room here as well, by the way. And we're throwing it in here, and we're just going to use up every single gem that we have. Again, there's a whole table for which gem goes with which to give the best item. I don't know what the table looks like. That seems to be an ice rod, though, so it's like not the worst guess. But I'd rather want like a candle. Probably not going to get one. That is the bomb ring. I think so. Let's just use 2 of these. I think sort of the thing you need to remember with those gems is that if you find a black one, keep it. Everything else, it gets complicated. But if you get 2 of the black gems, you get a sword upgrade, and everything combined with the black gem is just basically pretty good, usually. It's usually an upgrade of some kind. So it's probably worthwhile. Now, we have a little bit more things to do here. The dwarf town doesn't take nearly as long as the rebel town, fortunately. But we are just going to throw this suspiciously looking pendant into the wishing well here. Wish for some items. Find a fairy who will give us 2 items, which is a sword upgrade, which allows us to destroy more enemy types, and more defense, because apparently this run was not destined to die. I mean, I don't mind it. It's just sort of... It's like when... there's a whole different world going on to when I record this game and when I play it casually. Anyway. First of all, I think there's a secret room here as well. With probably some more gems in it. Yeah. I might go back to the Zora thing either way. Because, I have an extra inventory slot, so I might as well go back to that. But there is one more thing. There is this room right here. With a whole bunch of treasure chests inside it. And we're gonna bomb this wall. And then we are going to bomb this wall. And then we're gonna go back and buy some more bombs. Because there was a treasure map earlier with a bunch of numbers. And if you can find out how the numbers coincide with the walls I'm bombing, then congrats. You've done it. I will not explain it. I will simply do it and then move on. I'm buying 16 bombs because I think that's... you need something like that. It's a pretty... I'm counting the numbers now, actually, but it's something like that for sure. Anyway, we are currently at 7. Then we are going to 9. Then we will go to 8. And then we'll just go through all the numbers that are written on the treasure map as we try not to fall into a hole. There is more to this. Barely. Like there is like slightly more to this. In that... Hang on, I need to remember what 5 means. There is another secret room that's more secret than the treasure chest. That's like all the way in the top right of this maze. But it doesn't really have anything useful, so it's not really worth the effort to try and go for. I think it usually has like 2 gems. I don't know. Well, I say that. Usually it has 2 gems is what I say. And I'm basing that fully on a screenshot that I have seen. I have genuinely never even bothered to go to that part of the maze myself. Even though it's only a couple extra bombs, usually when I've reached this point I'm like, I either have no more money to buy more bombs, or I just can't really be bothered. Now usually the treasures you get from this is just a bunch more rupees and not really anything exciting. But you know, it's something. It's usually worth more than the rupees you spent getting here by buying 16 bombs. So it's like sort of worth it, I guess. But I've never really been excited by it. Like, it's skippable. Alright, we have inventory space to carry 1 more gem. That's nice. Let's just do something like this. And then if we get anything good from this, I'll keep it. And if not, then... like, it's not like the rods are bad. I could get an ice rod. It's just like we have, like, 3 rods already. Do I really need a 4th one? It's probably better than the can. I'll take that, actually. Yeah, that's Ring of Bombs. Like, it's fine, but bombs just sort of stop being useful after a while, and this is certainly... It's certainly past the point of usefulness, I would say. The other ice rod just got stacked over the first one and thus disappeared. Yeah, it is what it is. So this replenishes 5, which is technically worse than this, so I'll take the junior drink, I think it was called. And I might just real quickly go to one more shop before we call it a day. Because we're pretty much full on everything. I don't really need rupees from this point on anymore. So I'll just buy all the blue potions here and I have space for this? No. It's fine. Like I said, because we got the thing of wealth and the rod of money so early, it like nothing matters at this point in the run. We can pretty much get away with anything. But we have 5 blue potions and 4 mana things. We have a whole bunch of health up, so yeah, not particularly worried this time around. I'll equip the money rod actually, because I wouldn't mind a few more health containers. But beyond that, it doesn't really matter too much anymore. We've got 2 floors left and then the boss left to go. We have a map. of where we need to be. For these enemies, these actually do die in one hit from the bow, which is kind of useful, because if you try to kill them with the sword, and this is a pretty strong sword, it still takes a couple hits, so certainly nice. This is a terrible room, but we can destroy the fireball shooting statues, as you can see with the sword that we have right now that we got from the wishing stone. So those enemies are no longer a problem. And that certainly simplifies a couple things. These... Okay, my shield does actually stop them because we have one of the best shields in the game, but I will actually just do that. Because these red dragons, they will point at you when you turn around them while they're shooting their fireballs, and they, as such, they're just a lot more dangerous. But fortunately, we didn't need to worry about it too much. What do we got? We got a red potion, which I don't have space for. I could probably make space for a red potion. It's going to be better than any singular health item that we have, but... Huh, can I not make space for this? Okay. Because I actually genuinely wouldn't mind this, like the can, more than the red potion, weirdly enough. So we'll just keep going, I suppose. Yeah. This is also one of those mean rooms where you get one of those rollies to just go for you immediately, and you gotta be a little ready for it. Admittedly, this one was kind of far away from the door, so it didn't matter too much, but kind of a scary sandwich. For 6 health. These enemies as well. Like, this sword is so good. There's one sword which comes after it. Like, this is the second best sword in the game, and the sword that comes after it is somehow even better. So, I wouldn't mind getting the final upgrade. But we don't need it necessarily anymore. This room sucks. Wow, yeah. I'll use the cape for this, because I'm going to otherwise definitely take damage. These enemies are just kind of hard to hit. And this red fire beam bar thing, it's slightly different fire than what we've seen, and if we get hit from it, we actually lose mana. And I don't like that, so I don't want to deal with it. Attacking down is basically impossible, but somehow I managed to hit there, which I think you can probably put in a newspaper. I think that's actually never happened to anyone in history before, that they've hit a vertical attack like that. So, very proud of myself, and probably the best moment in my life, really. So we have these enemies now. They take 2 hits to kill from our sword, which is fairly annoying. Let's get rid of that. 80 more rupees, which is 80 plus the 20% every time. Like, the Rod of Wealth is good for every single like coin in the game. And that includes like singular rupees. It rounds it up to 2 rupees for every singular rupee, so it's like incredible. It is such a good pendant to have if you are in need of any money during the run, which generally, if you're just playing in it casually, you do need money. So yeah, it's very nice to have early on. This run has been nothing short of a miracle with the items that we've been getting. Like, I could have gotten the master... the big key, I was saying, but then I saw the Master Sword and the Pendant of Protection, which, at this point, I mean, I might as well. Can't quite afford it, unfortunately, but... Is that the... Oh, Pendant of Secrets. That's actually interesting. I might come back for that. Because at least that sort of gives you an idea how that works. And that might... get me there. I mean, there's enough rooms left on the floor that I'll almost certainly get enough money, but it at least gives you an idea how it works and like what kind of nonsense you have to look out for if you're looking for secrets, because it's so easy to miss out on secrets if you are not actively looking for them all the time, and this really simplifies that. So let's get rid of... What's this again? Is this a heart rod? Yeah, I'll get rid of that actually. Like, Rod of Fire is fine. Yeah, Rod of Fire is fine. But it's less satisfying than all the other rods. Like, the sound it makes just kind of sucks, so I'll get rid of that one. It's sort of wild to get rid of a fire rod of all things, because it's so good to just have like an instant kill attack available. But yeah, that's just how this run's gone. I'll take the star though. So we have the Master Sword now, which I didn't even really point out. But if we're at full health, then it'll shoot beams like it does in Link to the Past. The difference between the beams in Link to the Past and this is that in Link to the Past, they deal like the least amount of damage of any attack in the game. And in this, it's pretty comparable to the damage that your sword does. Like, it's not the exact same, but it's pretty damn close. So, it's pretty good. And, get a stopwatch from the final enemy. Oh, it actually gets rid of that, really. Did not know that. That's actually really cool. But yeah, it's, if you're at full health, that weapon alone is good enough to carry you through the run. If you attack just aggressively enough. Because you can just kill basically anything from the doorway. Anything from the doorway, anything from a distance, like it's incredibly strong. So if ever we're at full health again, which we probably will be with how this run's been going, well, yeah, I'll show that off now. Like, look at that, it just destroys. Also, the alert for when there's actually a secret room anywhere is very obvious, so I certainly haven't missed any. Unless there's a secret room in one of the rooms that we entered before we entered the shop. But like, look at this. Like, it's so strong. It is such a powerful weapon, and it destroys rocks from a distance as well. So good. It admittedly apparently has a little bit of difficulty with doorways, as it turns out, but I only just realized that, so it is what it is. The only arguable downside, I would say, is that if you use it against Wizrobes, there's a chance that your beam connects instead of the sword and you have to hit them an extra time. And that's like the main downside of the weapon. Like, it's a non-downside at all. Do we have enough for this? We probably... Yeah, we do. Sure. Let's play this. See if we get something good while I take a sip of water. Alright, yeah, sure, why not? So that's the Ring of Health. I don't have space for it, but you can turn mana into health, so not like heart containers, but just a heal, and it's very good. It's a very good item. I'll just move on. So here's Moldorn. I'm still not great at this, so I'm gonna just probably take my time. I think you can use the cape against this boss, but if you can gotta get it in a pattern, you can generally get it to sort of run towards you. Just gotta be careful not to touch his back because it deals just immense damage. But fortunately I have 1,000,000 armor, so nothing matters that, that I do. Genuinely, this game is quite difficult when you play it the first couple times. Even if you're used to Link to the Past, it's still quite tricky. Like, my health is going down, even with all this stuff that I have, because this boss is kind of tricky, but yeah, we've got so much going for us in this run. No worries whatsoever. We got another heart container at the end of it. One more crystal. And we go to the final floor of the game. After that, we still have a little bit more to go, but yeah, it's been sort of going at the speed upon which I've been hoping. I'm just gonna check OBS real quick to make sure that everything's still recording just fine, but it seems like it is. And if it's not, then, well, I had fun. Oh, I forgot about the Pendant of Protection, but I don't think I could actually afford it. So this floor is really, really big, and there's probably a secret room like immediately to my top right, and maybe like to the just a little bit to the right from here, because it just uses up every single room slot most of the time, I feel. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a secret room here. But you can only enter secret rooms from usually one direction. Oh, we actually have max damage. That's actually ridiculous. Because we have the glove upgrades fully upgraded as well. I think the shield might be the only thing we're missing before we're just fully geared up. So I guess we might as well just go for that. Like that, that's a pretty obvious message, I would say, that a secret room is nearby. And on this floor, it's worth to use every single item that you have. Every single consumable that you still have, it's worth just using it all up. Because, just trust me, bro, I suppose is going to be the best way to explain it. There we go. Unfortunately, no wall we can walk through. This is the black gem that I was talking about earlier. In that if you find it, you'll get something good. Usually some kind of upgrade or another, so that is very nice. We're just gonna go through the motions of clearing out this floor. If I had, again, the Master Key, we would have probably skipped most of this. These enemies die as well to this sword because it's unstoppable. It is an unstoppable force, and I appreciate it immensely. Like, the only time where the Master Key isn't good, which, well, it's never, really, but the only time it's not good is if you still need items and you're just not exploring enough and you're not good enough at the game. Or if you also need the Moon Pearl to go along with it and you don't have that. And that's such a rare instance that really basically doesn't matter that much. I'm gonna need to play this a little bit carefully, but fortunately we still have 8 ice orbs, so bleh. Because we have another enemy type to deal with now, which is the bomb throwers, and they are probably more annoying than they are in original Link to the Past, I would say. They're fairly dangerous. And we've got the blind heads as well, which they are a flying enemy, and I will just usually run past these because they have a decent amount of health. Like, we are at max damage and we still hitting them a couple times before they die. Not worth the effort. So we will just use up all our rods while we're at it. Get some extra health. Surprised we haven't seen a secret room there, actually, but fair enough. But we need another key, which is why I usually explore everything instead of immediately going for the locked door. Because it isn't always worthwhile. But, you know, at this point we are very much just going through the motions to reach the end of the game. These enemies now also just die to regular attacks. It's wonderful. Such a good item. Such a good sword. And we'll just be moving on with ease. That might be worth to just keep some of these hearts here just in case I'm really desperate, but alternatively I could just switch the cape and call it a day. This is just a room with rupees. I know there's no secret room here, so I don't need to look for it. But kind of an unusual dead end, I suppose. Does the beam still kill these, actually? Yeah, it does. Yeah, that seems about right, doesn't it? Of course the beam kills it. Why would it not? Why would it not just destroy anything that moves? I'll take that, though. So unfortunately we can't quite reach those, but one thing that I mentioned earlier but haven't really done is do this. Downside is that we are nearing the end of the game, and enemies have health now. And while we deal a lot of damage, bombs are still very much bombs, so they don't change in damage. They're very good early game, and they certainly lose their usefulness as you progress. I kind of got stuck there on the enemies, so I figured I'd eventually just switch it up. But as you can see, if you use the cape, they just immediately lose you. They fully stop chasing you, and God. I can't stop singing the praises of the cape, but like, look at how little mana it uses whenever I use it. It's so good. And I have an entire inventory full of mana, effectively. Like, I have nothing to worry about. I could just probably use the cape for the entirety of the floor and not be in any danger. I'm actively trying to get cursed by opening every chest I see, and it's just not happening. Like, what is going on? Oh, fire orb. Yeah, I haven't actually seen one of these yet. Should have probably picked up the heart, but it is what it is. The only reason why I'm tempted to just throw this and move on is because you can't run while holding an item. And it's certainly laziness that is making me go, I could just throw this. I could just throw this and be on my merry way. But for fun, let's just try and use it against an enemy. This might be a weird dead end, actually. Oh, that's worth it. Yeah. So it's basically like the ice orb, but it is fire-based. It's the only difference. It works basically identical otherwise. It's just a big flame of destruction. But the fun with ice, I feel, is that destroying a frozen enemy is really fun. It's just a really cool effect that I personally appreciate. We finally found the secret door, and unfortunately it's not one I can walk through. We have to use a bomb. So, we just don't get to see that, unfortunately. That is what it is. I'm kind of hoping I can go back to the starting room at some point to buy that golden shield, but if not, it's fine. I don't need to be fully geared up, I suppose. But it would have been fun, but I feel like every door leading towards the starting room was a dead end. I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed like it. I'm just gonna do this. Speed it up a bit. No need to wait for my weak little weapons like the fully powered Master Sword and stuff like that, when I could use an even stronger weapon. I will say the bow and arrow is still actually pretty good. Like, I feel like bow and arrow holds up pretty well the entire game. Especially when you have enemies that die in one shot from the bow and arrow. So, it usually ends up being useful throughout the entire thing, which I appreciate. Does this go back to the starting room? No. Does it? No, because the starting room is down there. Yeah, I think I might be locked out from that shop at the start, because I think there was a one-way door. Huh. Oh well. Die. I'm not going to pick that up. I don't want to take the damage or spend anything. I will take an extra free art container, sure. Why not? Some rooms we're just going to run past. Is there going to be any curse? I actually didn't think it would be possible for there to be a run without one, but maybe it is. There's also just certain other things we just haven't seen. There's at least one Easter egg in the game with some iconic characters from the 80s, and beyond that, there's also just like some extra... Oh my god, you've been cursed. Effects that replenish magic won't work. That's interesting. Open 3 treasures to remove the curse. So that's pretty annoying actually, but like not the end of the world. Because, well, to say that I had a build that would have been helped by being able to replenish magic is an understatement. But we're also basically running out of floors, so it doesn't matter too much. We have to open 3 treasure chests to get rid of the curse. And we might not find 3, honestly. Also, the Master Sword can light torches, I guess. But yeah, we might end up being cursed until the end of the game, which, I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing I can really do about it. I mean, unless we just keep finding treasure chests. If we press start, we can see how long the curse will still last. We still need 1 more treasure chest to deal with it. But yeah, that can be fairly detrimental, but again, there's also curses that stop healing items from working. I feel like that's just way worse in a lot of situations. But I'm just gonna go through all of the items that I have at this point, because it's just a waste not to use them all. And it does speed up the process of destroying all the enemies a little bit, so might as well. You can count the amount of rooms that are still available because we have the map available. That's definitely not a Monster Energy drink. Legally distinct for sure. But keeping in mind how many rooms there are, I could probably use an Ice Orb for all the remaining enemies in the game. And if not, we could just use our Master Sword or something else that we have. We have a lot of options available, and everything's just dying. No worries. I will not mess with those heads. They are annoying to hit. The enemies with the balls, certainly a lot less scary when you can one-shot them. The door didn't close behind me, so I could just keep running, fortunately. And yeah, we got pretty good items. We got pretty good items going towards the end of the game here. To sort of speed through these final floors. Certainly not disappointed by how this build has gone whatsoever. Just need to find a key anywhere. There you go. Also, sometimes those enemies still shoot after, like, slightly after they die. That's pretty annoying. But it's not the end of the world. So with that, we'll destroy these creatures. And final room of the floor. Let's just shoot a bunch of arrows and move on to the final floor. Just a big hallway with a bunch of Yeds. We got this thing, which originally we needed the Master Sword to destroy. Now we need the 3 crystals. Does this get rid of my curse, actually? I'm not sure. Am I going to be black and white for the rest of the game? Hey, it does get rid of the curse. Because I remember reading that, but I thought that was a suggestion. But it does actually get rid of the curse. That's nice. So we can use this to get rid of get some of our mana back, which we needed, obviously. Definitely do heal up at this point if you can. And then we will go into the boss, Aghanim, who... well, so this boss gets rid of all your items, and then you have to beat the boss using his attacks. So there's one attack that he does where you can actually damage him. which is this one. You can throw bombs at him. And to say this boss was, I'm gonna say controversial, is an understatement. Once you sort of understand him, he's not bad at all. But oh god, getting rid of all your items is so bad. This attack, when he's in the bottom, he will do this attack. Usually, I do tend to try and avoid like a possible fireball, just in case. But generally, you'll just shoot fireballs, just hold the run button, and just keep throwing bombs back at him to damage him. In the corners, it tends to be this attack, just be on the opposite side of the room. And as long as you just keep running and avoid his attacks, it's fine. Like, as far as bosses go, it is what it is. It's the end of a game. It is an end. And once you've fought him once or twice, you're not gonna get, like, surprised by him anymore. Which is sort of the main reason why you would die. Like, I died the first time I fought this boss. And I think the second time, I sort of understood what I had to do, and then everything was fine. But it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate boss at the end of the game. Because, yeah, you lose all your items that you had. So a good run just ends up being what it is. Like, it just depends on how many heart containers you got at the end of the game, which, yeah. Fair enough. It's a boss. It ends the game. And with that, peace has returned to Hyrule. Time took an hour and a half. I don't know. Yeah, that seems about right, actually. And we beat the game. And that is an example of a run of this game. I wanted to get a video out before Nintendo does what they do. But it is a not-for-profit game. It's not actually a ROM hack. It is made in Game Maker, and it is downloadable for free on their Discord. It's really good. It's a really good game, like genuinely really good. It's very similar, not exactly the same, but very similar to Link to the Past. And yeah, it's an incredible little thing that's been made here, and definitely enjoy it while you can. I absolutely recommend it. Like, in the stats you can see sort of how many runs I've done 20 runs of this, which that's a decent amount. There's no unlockables or anything. Like, you have anything at the start of the game. You can make sort of your own character sheets for characters as well. Like, usually Homer's not there, but he is available to use from the get-go if you copy some files. Like, you need to sort of understand how computers work, and I don't know if it works on anything beyond Windows, but it's so good. Plus, after that, you can try like a run starting with a different item. You can do certain challenges, and I think if you throw away your sword, because your sword is just an item in your inventory, and I think you can throw it out at the start of the run, and then you can just try to do it swordless, but the game is certainly not made for it. So you can get soft lock because of it, but it's got so much replay value, and it just sort of spawned. And yeah, it's very good. Absolutely recommend this. Very good game. This run, I feel, doesn't even represent how good this game is, just because how lucky I was. Because normally you have to deal with stuff like inventory management early on in the game, especially because you have to deliver that letter to the Rebel Village. And this time around, we had a level 3 inventory after like 2 chests, so a lot of the challenge was just removed from the get-go. I don't know. It just felt like it went really well. Like, I just didn't take that much damage in general. I barely used healing items, so I'm pretty happy with how this went otherwise. But I mean, I was very lucky. But yeah, give it a shot. Hope you all enjoyed it. Maybe I'll come back to this at some point. Maybe we won't. But either way, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye.